The water was cold. Not just cold, icy, like the indifference or the faces that had surrounded her all her life. Nora struggled to breathe. The weight of the dress pulled her body downward, the silk clinging to her legs, turning into invisible chains. Every time she tried to rise, the reflection on the surface trembled like a distorted mirror showing who she really was. A woman on the edge of herself. The muffled sound of the water blended with the quick rhythm of her heart. Is this how it all ends? She thought. But at the same moment, a voice inside her, calm, almost curious, asked, "Or is this how something begins?" As her body sank, her mind floated. Flashes came, her mother's funeral, wilted flowers, perfumed to sweet, the pitying looks of wealthy friends who never understood true pain. Then, endless dinners, crystal glasses, hollow laughter, an absent father, calculated conversations, smiles that hid boredom. She had learned early that wealth does not fill silence, that the gold of the elite is to cool the metal to warm the heart. Loneliness. She whispered inside the water, voiceless. Loneliness dressed in luxury, the sea was the tears of her soul, flooding her lungs. Then she realized what she truly wanted. It was not a new dress. It was not a new address. It was a new meaning, something that would shake her foundations, make her lose herself and find herself again. Something alive, intense, imperfect. The vision began to fade, water invading her ears, time dissolving. But before everything went dark, Nora felt something different, a hand, a touch, an impulse pulling her back to the surface. The last thought before the cut to darkness, I want to live something that makes me feel. Even if it destroys me. Cut, silence, the sound of breath, sharp and uneven. Chapter 1. The surface. The first sound Nora heard was the wind. Not the sound of water, nor the hurried voices. Just the wind passing through the half-open window, moving the linen curtains as if time itself had begun to breathe again. When she opened her eyes, the white ceiling of the room seemed distant, almost unreal. Her skin still carried the chill of the lake, her lungs burning as if the whole world had been filtered through pain. She was alive. But, for a moment, she wished she wasn't outside. The hurried steps of the servants broke the silence, whispers, doors closing quickly. The scandal was already spreading through the corridors of the house, and probably through gossip blogs as well. The heiress of the Varnett family found unconscious in the property's lake. Some would call it an accident, others a desperate attempt to attract attention. Her father had not appeared that morning. He sent flowers, always flowers, and a cold message, "Rest, my daughter. You are my beloved daughter." She smiled, humorlessly. The world outside might be cruel, but at least it was alive. Inside that mansion, everything was predictable. Dinners, conversations, empty applause. Nothing pulsed. It was that very morning that she truly noticed him, Ryan. The new employee. He had arrived only for months earlier, hired by the house administrator. She had noticed him before. A simple man with attentive eyes, hands at work silently. They said he lived with his father, a kind but sickly man, and had been fired from a previous job for questionable reasons. Blogs claimed he got too involved with a maid who had fallen ill. The truth? He simply helped her. But in that world, helping someone who doesn't drink Chandon was an unforgivable sin. Nora watched him from her bedroom window as he tended the plants in the lower garden. There was something in his posture, a quiet dignity, a strength that needed no voice. It was different from anything she knew. That afternoon, when she descended to the veranda, he looked up. Their eyes met for an instant, and time seemed to fold. She felt her heart beat in a new way. A simple, human sound, but one that made her remember the wind, the water, and something she had lost, the will to live. Nora did not yet know that this glance would be the beginning of what she had so desperately sought. In the lake, something that would make her float and shake her foundations. Chapter 2. A gentle distance. Nora remembered everything. Every morning, the same routine. The same gates opening. The The same silence between them. Nora, sitting in the back seat, a serene presence, wrapped in linen and perfume. Ryan at the wheel, steady hands, calm eyes. The expression of someone who carries the world with dignity. Words almost never came, but their silence spoke volumes. Every breath seemed like a contained dialogue, a secret the wind carried away before being spoken. Nora began to notice small gestures. How he lowered the radio volume when they passed the cemetery, or how he smiled quietly when he saw his father waiting at the gate when returning home. It was a kindness her world had forgotten. One morning in the garden, she saw him helping pick up cutlery that had fallen beside one of the older maids, and realized there was more nobility in that simple act than in all the elite's dinners. But the gap between them was visible. The social distance, the watchful glances, the unspoken rules. And yet, there was something growing in the space between them. Something neither fear nor silence could suffocate. A few days later, Nora boarded a speedboat with friends on the river. The boat, docked at the pier, swayed in a northwest wind. False laughter, clinking glasses, the motor roaring against the wind. She looked toward the horizon and felt only emptiness. Suddenly, the wind shifted. Laughter turned to screams. A slip and the world spun around her. The cold water enveloped her like a cruel embrace. Everything became distant. Sound, light, life. But before the darkness took her completely, a movement cut through the surface and Ryan dived without a second thought. The last thing she saw before losing consciousness was his face, determined. Human, real. The kind of look not found in luxury salons, but in the depths of what truly matters. Chapter 3, Between Gratitude and Something More. When Nora opened her eyes, the room was silent. Only the ticking of the clock and the scent of fresh flowers reminded her she was still alive. The doctor said it was luck, but Nora knew it was not luck. It was Ryan. Days later, she saw him again. He stood at the gate, hat in hand, eyes restless as if unsure he could enter. She felt a gentle shiver. "Please, come in," she said, and for the first time, Ryan crossed the mansion doors not as a driver, but as someone who had saved a life. The conversation was timid. She thanked him without finding the words. He replied simply, "I'd do it again, miss. Anyone would." But Nora knew it was not true. Her friends had not been concerned about saving her, and only noticed she had fallen into the water. After she was already in Ryan's arms at the pier, him trying to revive her, they sat in the garden, surrounded by falling leaves and the scent of wet earth. The silence between them was no longer discomfort. It was understanding. Then Ryan told his story. He spoke of his father, a sick but wise man, and the reason for his past dismissal. He had helped a maid who had fainted at work. The family accused him of going too far, using the limousine to give aid, when he should have waited for permission or called an ambulance. In his conscience, Ryan knew she needed urgent help and he would never regret it. He was dismissed as insubordinate. Nora listened in silence, her heart tight, not with pity, but admiration. The world judges what it doesn't understand. She whispered softly. He smiled, and for a second, they forgot who they were. Their hands touched across the table. A light touch, almost a breath, but enough to ignite what was once only gratitude. At that moment, Nora understood. Some encounters are not coincidences. They are the universe whispering that life can begin again. Chapter 4, The Whisper of Judgment. For weeks, everything seemed calm. Nora had begun to smile again, not that rehearsed smile of elegant dinners, but a genuine smile, born from something simple. She looked forward to the days when Ryan would drive her into town. She liked the silence in the car, the short conversations, the furtive glances in the rearview mirror. It was a new piece, too dangerous to last. Aunt Agatha, widow, elegant and sharp-tongued. She had the gift of turning any sentence into a subtle critique. She loved to things afternoon tea, and scandal. As she stirred sugar into her cup, she dropped a comment with a sharp smile. "Darling." I hope this new driver knows his place. You know how these stories end. First gratitude, then headlines. Nora tried to laugh, but the sound came weak. He saved my life, and, my dear, sometimes it's better to die of shock than of reputation. Aunt Agatha's laugh cut the air like glass. Nora rose silently, her heart tight, and something inside her broke across the city. Ryan also felt the invisible weight of difference. The other servants' glances, conversation stopping when he entered. The world of the elite was made of doors, and all of them were always ajar, never truly open. One night, sitting on the simple porch of his home, he confided in his father. The old man, with a hoarse voice, said only, "Son, kindness never shames a man, but fear does." Ryan looked up at the sky. He thought of Nora and of everything he could not say. Love was being born, but so was judgment as the rain fell over Tarrytown. Two hearts beat in different worlds, fighting the same enemy, the cold voice of prejudice disguised as tradition. Chapter 5. The secret he carried. Aunt Agatha's words still echoed in Nora's mind. She wiped her tears and did not think twice. She grabbed her phone, called a car, and left without an umbrella with a certain destination. She would open the doors to that garden like an enchanted child. The rain lashed the city, the sky seeming to collapse along with everything she had been hiding. On the car window, raindrops traced crooked paths, as if destiny itself pushed her toward him. Her heart raced. When the car stopped in front of the small house, Nora got out quickly. Cold wind, soaked dress, pounding heart. She pressed the doorbell, and before the sound finished, the door opened. He looked at her with tiger and honey eyes, but only for an instant. They said nothing. There was no time for words, none that could fit that moment. Nora stepped forward, and time seemed to stop. Their kisses erupted like bursts of water, bodies touching, and the distant path to the bedroom. The whole world reborn. It was urgent, deep, true. The rain outside became distant. Now there was only the warmth of being together, as if everything they had repressed found voice, body, and soul. Between nervous laughter and trembling touches, time folded in on itself. The small house became a cell, an atom, or a planet. Then, silence and love. Finally, freedom. That night, surnames, rules, and judgments no longer mattered. Only what was real, what burned, what grew, what was born. And when dawn came, Nora understood what lay within that state of feelings. It was not just desire. It was a promise. The promise that, from that moment on, nothing would be the same. Chapter 6. The silence after the rain. The dawn was gray. The sound of the rain, which at night had seemed like shelter, now felt like farewell. Nora woke first. The slightly open window let in cold air and the damp scent of the street. She lay there, watching the outline of her beloved asleep, his chest rising and falling slowly, his breathing calm. For a moment, she wanted to believe the world outside did not exist. But the clock read 7:12 a.m. and, as every morning, reality did not wait. She rose slowly, gathered the dress thrown on the floor, tied her hair in a careless knot, and looked at herself in the hallway mirror. There was something new in her face, perhaps the glow of a holiday, or a child returning from an enchanted garden, perhaps simply a rest she had not felt in a long time. Before leaving, she left a simple note on the table. "Thank you for last night." And she descended the stairs with the sound of rain hitting the steps still in her ears. Outside, she called another ride through an app. While the driver confirmed the destination, Nora watched the reflection of the rain-washed city in the window. In every drop, she saw a fragment of something that could not last that day. She understood that love sometimes arrives like a storm, fierce, urgent, and impossible to hold on to. But like every rain, it also passes. Chapter 7. Broken, but not defeated. The ride home was heavy. Nora still felt the warmth of the night, his scent lingering on her skin. There was no regret. There was intensity, and also the awareness that nothing would ever be the same again. Ryan was no longer just the driver. He was someone who had crossed her silence, dived into her waters, and stayed. And she knew that this put them in another world, a world where love was urgent, but also dangerous. They continued to meet in secret, exchanging glances in the mansion's corridors, silent messages, furtive encounters. The relationship grew stronger, more real, but also more exposed to judgment. Whispers began, inquisitive glances, and Agatha, perceptive as ever, wasted no time. Darling, don't you think you're rushing things? Protect your reputation. Our family does not handle scandals well. Nora only smiled, knowing she did not want answers. She wanted to live what she felt. She decided not to retreat. Her days gained a new purpose beyond social commitments. She began working quietly on community projects in Ryan's neighborhood. She wanted to better understand his world, to feel his life, and perhaps prove to herself that loving could also be an act of courage. Meanwhile, Ryan did what he could to protect what had been born between them. They both knew the relationship was growing stronger precisely because it was forbidden, and that every meeting was a gamble against time and against the world. That week, between secrets and promises, Nora realized something. What was broken was not their love, it was the world around them. Chapter 8. The echo of unspoken things. 3 weeks had passed since that night under the storm. Each day was a challenge, not because of the feeling between them, but because of a world seemingly determined to destroy. Nora returned to her routines, but with a different gaze. She was no longer just the heiress of the Varnett family. She was now a woman marked by love and by the courage it demanded. She could not stop thinking about Ryan. Their furtive meetings had become her most precious secret, but also an open wound, because every time she saw him, she knew the world around them did not accept that choice. One afternoon, walking through the city, she received a mysterious message. It was an address written with only one word: today. No signature, no explanation. Her heart quickened. Was it him? Was it a trap? The answer lay hidden between fear and desire. Nora decided to follow the call. She took a car, letting the rain wash the city, and her own hesitation. Arriving at the destination, she found a small, secret garden, the same where Ryan waited for her. He smiled upon seeing her, as if he had known she would come, but said nothing. He only extended his hand, knelt down, and placed a ring on her finger. And the question, "Will you marry me?" They stayed there in silence, looking at each other as if the world had stopped. In that moment, Nora realized there was something much greater than words between them. It was an echo, the echo of everything she had dreamed of becoming real. A hum in her head, an unbound emotion flowing through the cosmos. That moment sealed a promise. No matter the judgment, no matter the fear, they would follow each other. Chapter 9. Where love rises. Nora could no longer live without Ryan. There was no room for doubt, only the certainty that her heart beat for him, against everything and everyone. But the world did not stop. The tension between them grew. Family gatherings, suspicious glances, whispers in corridors. The pressure became almost unbearable, and Agatha spoke again. This time with sharper irony. "Darling, it seems you've chosen to live with your head held high, and your heart open. I just hope you know the price of that." Nora smiled but said nothing. She already knew the price, and she was willing to pay it. That afternoon, she made a decision. No more hiding what she felt. No more living in the shadows. She decided to face the world, whether applauding or condemning. That afternoon, she called Ryan. They met in the same garden where they had first talked. The silence between them was heavy with emotion. He took her hand, as if seeking strength. "I don't care what they say," she said firmly. "Neither do I," he replied, looking her in the eyes. And so, in that moment, They decided to marry in their own way. No masks, no excuses. No fear. Chapter 10. The river never forgets time had passed, and with it the storms, but not the scars, nor the memories. Nora and Ryan learned that loving was a daily act, a silent pact of respect, courage, and surrender, through knowing glances, simple gestures, and stolen moments from the world. They built something solid even amidst chaos. They decided to break away from everything that weighed on them. Family, prejudice, other people's opinions. The wedding was not a luxury affair. It was an intimate gathering outdoors with flowers, music, and the laughter of those who truly mattered there under the golden light of dusk. They exchanged vows that needed no elaborate words. Their eyes said everything. Promises made in silence forever that night to the sound of the river. Nora placed her grandmother's necklace around her neck, the same one that had accompanied her since childhood. Now, it shone differently. It was a symbol not only of the love that saved her, but of the life she chose to live. Like a secret whisper to the wind in a world obsessed with status, they chose kindness and found eternity in love. The next day, the city awoke. But for Nora and Ryan, time had stopped. They already knew the river never forgets those who dare to love.